We had the other night there. Yeah? It was like we're doing a fire walk right there in Socrates Cafe. I think someone was raking out the coals. I don't know. It's like, wow, this is something else. You can't get away from it. Welcome! The power of the body heals the body. Doesn't happen any other way. Can you feel that in your physiology? The power, huh? Well, let's just start it out. Let's everybody stand up. We always start out everything, wherever I go, I always start out this way. We got to feel the power that made the body heals the body. We want to feel it in your physiology. Now, when we do this, I want to, on the count of three, we're all going to do it together. The power that made the body heals the body. Now, how we do this is we start feeling in our toes. You feel it down there in your toes? That's where the power is going to start rising into your physiology. Joe Dispenza says, you know, it's not thinking positive in life. It has to be in accord with your physiology. Your physiology has to feel the energy. And then when you think this way, you create your world from that perspective. So we want to feel it in our toes. And I had a great way. When I was in practice years ago and I wanted to get new patients, I had a convertible and I'd drive up and down the streets and I would go, and then lightning would fly out of my fingers, you know, and then I'd get to the back of the office. Well, they're on their way now. Those people are coming in. I just zapped them, you know. And, you know, it works that way because, you know, like when a patient walks into a chiropractor's office, they came to you. They passed 5 other chiropractors to get to you. It was your energy that brought them there. You. So let's project our energy. So we're going to feel the energy, the power that made the body heals. But we're going to all say it together, and we're going to start at our toes. When I count to 3, wiggle your toes. Make sure they're alive down there. Can you feel them? Can you feel them? Okay, count 3. 1, 2, 3. The power that made the body heals the body. That's great. Amen. Oh. Okay, let's sit down. People ask me, why do we have Spizz nights? Well, I have Spizz nights because I like the energy of being excited about something in my life with purpose. And chiropractic is that thing. Chiropractic, tick. What's the tick in chiropractic? The tick in chiropractic is innate. It's the innate that's in there. You know, how significant it is the innate in chiropractic. So, just as a little test, who's first quarter student? Okay, who's second quarter student? Okay, who's been in school got 6 quarters already? Now, who are chiropractors? Okay, so I have a question. What's the major premise?
Universal intelligence exists in all matter and gives all its principles and properties. Keeping it in
is present in all matter.
Well, that's true.
Amen. It's like some of you didn't pass the test. You're still sitting there. What the fuck happened? You know, this is a safe haven. You know, if you're ever going to take the national boards, one of the questions will be on there. What's the major premise? Won't it? Then if it's not on there, you need to write it in and add it to it because you should at least know the major premise. They should be checking on that. For 10 years, I was on the licensing board up in Michigan, and I always we could take the national board, but I fixed it so you could take our state board instead of a national board. And I always liked it. I wrote the exam. This is a true story. What year was chiropractic discovered? 1903, 1895, 1722. Who discovered chiropractic? Pasteur, D.D. Palmer, Thomas Edison. I had these on exams. If you're going to toggle a person's atlas and they have an ASRP, what side do they lay on? And so, the interesting I'm talking about this is, in life, we can do anything we want to do. And so, to me, I just wanted to make sure we had chiropractors being licensed, you know, to get practice in Michigan. And then after I did the exam, even as simple as it was, I'd had people that they'd flunk. So then I'd go and take out all the questions they missed. So they would pass. I had one. In all my years, I could not take enough questions. They were national grants. I just could not get enough questions taken out. I just could not pass them. They used to talk about the people, the chiropractors in Michigan are unqualified because of our exam. I remember one time we had chiropractor, he wanted to come in and get a license and stuff. And he had known B.J. Palmer. He's the one, Joe Maynard, that wrote the book, Healing Hands, you know. And he come before me and I asked him, I said, oh, okay, I have one question. Did you know B.J. Palmer? He said, yes. I said, okay, you're licensed to practice chiropractic in Michigan. And so we give him a license. There was one other time I was doing it, and we had about 35 candidates in it, and they were all in there because they had to come up and have be interviewed by the board. So there was like 35 candidates in there, and all of a sudden the fire marshal goes, "You got too many people in this room. You got to clear it out. You can't have this many people in the room." So I said, "Okay, all those that are here to get a license to practice chiropractic in Michigan, stand up. You all do the license to practice chiropractic, go forth and serve. Goodbye." That's what you can do. See, we are capable of doing many things, but we limit ourselves by our imagination that says, no, you can't do that, you can't do this. Now, got another story. Because there's a difference. You make a difference.
I make a difference.
You make a difference. You make a difference.
Damn straight.
Do you know that everybody in this room makes a difference?
Yes.
But the difference you make is according to the choices that you make. So are you happy with the difference you make at the end of the day? So, tell you a story. This is true. A very good friend of mine, he was on the board life here, Hank Kuzno. He passed away about 4 weeks ago. I get a notification, and he says, "Did you know that Dr. Kuzno that passed away 50 years to the date that you were holding your student recruiting program that he was at?" Life wasn't even opened. I was having a student recruitment program in my home. You know, at Life Leadership, they have 130, 140 people come. I had 100 people in my student recruitment in my home. They'd sit around my enclosed swimming pool. So Hank Kuzna was there. And another person, Pete Heffron, was there. And another one, Carl Mashaik, was there. And another one, Linda Rassel, was there. Now, why am I saying these names? This is 72. Life is not open. It opened 74. When we had problems in 2002, 2003, 2004 with accreditation, Hank Kuzno, Pete Heffron wrote checks out for $100,000 apiece. Linda Rassel, I put her on the board at Life University. And Carl Mashaik came down and started teaching at the school. And the school didn't even operate. Can you understand how far-reaching what you're doing today affects the lives of many tomorrow? We sometimes take it for granted, whatever you're doing. But what you're doing, you're setting things in motion. You're setting it in motion. If you choose to let just things happen, things just happen. But you'll be a difference. So to always be thinking, what is the difference I want to make? So we asked, what is the major premise of chiropractic? And there was this seminar I was attending in Clearwater not too long ago, and they were talking about the major premise in chiropractic. And they said the universal intelligence exists in all matter, continually give it to its properties and actions, and thus maintaining an existence. I left one word out when I said that. Did you notice it? What's the major premise? Universal intelligence exists in all matter, continually gives to it all its properties and actions, thus maintaining existence. Now, what if it happens if I say it this way? Universal intelligence exists in all matter and continually gives it to its properties and actions. I leave out the all. It diminishes it. That's coming from one of the faculty people in one of our chiropractic colleges that was lecturing. And I was the next one to lecture after that. Except I said it the way Stevenson's textbook in chiropractic philosophy says it. And I went up to ask him about that. I said, why did you leave out the all? He said, oh, did I? I said, yes, you did. I said, what happened? He said, oh, I didn't realize I left it out. I just was he was reading somebody else's notes and he was the dean of the clinic and everything else at the school. See? How significant is it when we start thinking that the major premise in chiropractic is universal intelligence exists in all matter, continually gives all properties and actions, and what is innate intelligence relationship to universal? And this was a little test because we had a doctor just came, David Koch stepped down at Life. We have a new person head of the chiropractic philosophy, and I walked up to him because I wanted to check out, make sure he's selling chiropractic philosophy. So I says, what's your relationship to innate? If I said to you, what's your relationship to innate? What are you thinking right now? I am. That's exactly what he said. I am. I said, you passed the test. This is good stuff, you know. Because most people diminish. Now, when I say I am, I want you to close your eyes a minute. And I want to say these words. Universal intelligence exists in all matter. Just get the feeling what that means. And continually gives to it all its properties and actions maintaining existence. So we're saying chiropractic, the major premise is universal intelligence, spiritual power, God exists in all things, and continually gives divine God power to all things that exist. And what is innate intelligence? The individual expression of this divine universal power. And when you say to yourself, I am innate, what are you actually saying? What are you feeling right now? See, that's a feel in your physiology right now. Start in your toes and work this way up. Is how do you feel when you say, I am innate? And let's put it in other words, I am divine. With the stuff I use, I cannot lose. You feel it? That's it. Okay, open your eyes. That's it. This is what life's all about. The bigness of the fellow within. Big book. Anybody got it? Better raise your hand. The first chapter is that something. And what does that something say? The most important thing you can do is awaken within yourself this innate power within you and let it become the guiding light of your life. So, what does that mean to you? The most important thing I can do is awaken to this, what's within me, and let it be the guiding light of my life. Now, what's the lasting purpose in life? Well, what's the lasting purpose of life? Define it. Give me the definition of life, lasting purpose. You all go to school, lasting purpose. What is this definition? Is it just like, wow, it's a nice word, 2 words? What is lasting purpose?
We will not stop until everyone. Yeah.
Well, what is lasting purpose? It's defined at life. I want. If I were to ask you lasting purpose and you had ownership, how would you answer it? I just like it's just like, well, I really feel strong when I say that. It's like, in case somebody hears me, I don't want. What if I said it wrong? What is your lasting purpose? What is it defined at life? It's right in the word. Socrates says, lasting purpose is to lead an interdirected life. It's spelled right out there at Socrates. To lead an interdirected life. What does that mean?
You're in charge of your own life.
I am.
Say it louder.
You're in charge of your own life.
You're in charge of your own life. And what's by interdirected mean?
You're the guiding force within you.
The guiding force within you. And then what it say, when you live an indirected life, what do? You love, you serve, you give, and do out of your own abundance. How you live an interdirected life is you're going to love, serve, give, do out of your own abundance. Those are the techniques you do when you awaken to the spirit power within you. Unless you awaken, nothing happens. You're just out there doing stuff. And what does it say further when you get into this thing in the bigness of the fellow? And that's something. Unless you do that, you will be nothing but a clutter on the earth in which you live. You're taking up space. We're living in a world right now that's waking up. We are fortunate here in the United States because there's a great awakening here relative to the rest of the world. This understanding of the power within you. That doesn't exist in most places of the world. And through the ages, only the masters knew this information. That they were the source and creation of all things that exist from within themselves. But this awakening is taking place within all of us now, and we're picking it up. And you're seeing the change that's taking place. And those people that cannot understand that change, they're frightened right now. They don't know what to do. They think the power is on the outside now. But this masses of people are changing. To the point that you would see in Australia, people demonstrating on the street, you're not going to control me any longer. You're not going to control me. You're not going to control me. You're not going to control me. There are people walking around. It's just like they have masks on. The most ludicrous thing I've ever seen. You can filter a virus through porcelain. That's how small it is. And you look at the mask and you look right through it. You don't think viruses can go through the mask? Come on now.
Face diaper.
And you can't touch it either. Once you touch it, it's contaminated. It says once you touch your mask, you must clean it. You'd have to have soap and water walk in, or every time you scratch your face, you have to take your mask off, clean it, dry it out, put it back on. Come on now. But this is that outside world scaring people. But there's this mass of people right now. They're not buying that. They know something bigger is within themselves. Healing comes from within. The natural ability of the body to heal, maintain itself. Immunity comes from within. And that's the excitement, the awakening that's taking place. BJ said, 1912, we're going to build a superhuman race. You've heard me say this stuff before. How are we going to do that? We're going to correct chronic subluxation and connect people back to their source. And what is their source? The divinity within them, the God, the innate. It took years to me. I can remember walking behind the main building. It's a Bill Harris Learning Center with Dr. Sid. And Dr. Sid says to me, he says, I understand. I know what lasting purpose is. It's to do the will of God. That's your heritage. It all goes back to D.D. Palmer, our heritage. So think of that and realize this is what we got going. So we're going to have a couple different speakers. And an idea to me is like chiropractic today, better world tomorrow. We're setting it in motion. We're making a correction of that chronic subluxation. We're setting into motion a better world. That's what each and every one of you are doing. We love the challenges of life. We love to facilitate and bring about this understanding. When you make a chiropractic adjustment, you connect people back to God. Is the world ready for that? I think it is. I think they're tired of another drug for everything. It's almost ridiculous when you watch TV. It's like one drug after another. So what in the world is going on? It's like they must make up conditions and drugs just to keep doing all this stuff, you know. So anyways, our next one up is that we're fortunate to have Dr. Dave Hoffman come up from North Carolina. Yeah, he's an AO practitioner, does Stan Pierce's work. My first encounter with him was when I met him in Tampa. My one granddaughter was having a lot of problems, and she was getting chiropractic care, not responding well. And so we took her to Dr. Dave Hoffman in Tampa. He used an instrument, didn't even touch her, just took an instrument, adjusted her, and she got well. Very scientific, very exact, very specific. Dr. Dave Hoffman, please.
All right.
Okay, I'll give you this. Maybe you can get a keep on.
We're good? We're good? We're good?
Yeah, just hold it.
I'll hold it. fortunate. There aren't many legends anymore. And so soak it up.
We have to talk loud, though.
Soak it up and be around him. I was awakened, and I'm going to tell you about that. But I'm going to tell you something else first. I've been adjusting the upper cervical spine for over 50 years. And I know I don't look that old. But I'm going to explain how that worked. When I was 18, I had never heard of a chiropractor, never heard that word, didn't know anything about the body, nothing. I thought viruses and bacteria caused disease, and you went to the doctor when you got sick enough. I hurt my back on a job. My cousin took me to an apartment, said, you want to go to a chiropractor? And I was so bad, I just laid on the floor. I said, no, I don't even know what that is, but I'm hurting too bad. Came back the next day, you want to go? No. Third day, I said, yeah, I'll go. So the next morning he came and picked me up and took me to a chiropractor in a little town outside of St. Louis. We went up about 50 little wooden steps, opened the door, and there was a men's waiting room and a woman's waiting room. And so we go in the men's side, and we're sitting in this little bench, and I'm hearing on the other side of this glass wall a scurrying, like a squirrel or something. And I'm trying to hear what's going on back there. And just motion. So I'm sitting there, and I notice these magazines, The Poison Needle, B.J. Palmer. I'm thinking, what am I doing? So all of a sudden, this door opens up, and this old man that looked like Colonel Sanders, white shirt, bow tie, and I'm going to show you my first chiropractic visit, so he opens the door, come on in. He brings me in, and he says, sit down. So I sit down, and he said, me and my silent partner is going to check your neck. So he scoped me, and then he said, turn your head to the right, turn your head to the left. He said, now kneel down and put your head on that bench. So I did, and he got up over me, boom, and then he yelled, get up, you're all right. And I was 18, I had a ponytail down to here, and I thought, and then he said, after he told me to get up, come here, he sat me in his chair and grabbed a spine and started telling me the story. And I'm still trying to figure out what's happened. And this guy's energy, I still to this day, now River's pretty fired up. And Sid Williams was fired up. But Jesse Schroeder was fired up. And I was more amazed at this man and the energy. I never saw anything like that in my life. And then he told me this story, and I was afraid of medical doctors because I didn't like getting stuck, and it hurt. So when I heard that the body could take care of itself, because Jesse told me, the reason you get sick is because you got pinched nerves. You know, pinching nerves, and you get well. Well, I like that. And I said, hey, that sounds good. So anyway, he charged me $3, and I left. Came back the next day, pretty much the same routine. Sat me down though, talked to me. Now, Jesse never asked me what was wrong with me, what my name was. I mean, that didn't matter. He had some, he was on a mission. He was fired up. And so a few days, and my back started feeling better. And I thought, wow, this is something. I've never seen or heard anything like this story that this guy's telling me. And he liked me. He said, I liked your ponytail because BJ had one. And, so Jesse said, I got so much to do and so little time to do it. I got to go to Washington. I got to talk to the president. And I've got to tell him about chiropractic. Okay, listen. So anyway, after a while, because I liked this guy, I'd go out there. He said, you want me to teach you how to adjust? I said, yeah. So Jesse taught me how to toggle the atlas. He had me toggling him. I was toggling anyone I could. I was telling the story. I was in college, and I would sit and, like Sid Williams used to talk about, see the field full of lilies or something like that. But I'd see all these students, and I just saw myself adjusting them, and because it was so amazing. And so one day I went out and saw Jesse, and he said, "Hey, you want to start working for me?" I said, "What do you mean?" He says, "You want to start adjusting patients tomorrow?" I said, "Well, do you think I need to go to chiropractic school?" He said, "No. Well, a lot of times I just take people's word for things. I'm really glad that, because I might have done that. But I said, "I'm going to go to chiropractic school." He goes, "All right, when you leaving for Davenport?" I said, "Davenport? Why do I got to go there? There's a school here in St. Louis." He said, "No, there isn't." I said, "Yeah, Logan." No, well, I didn't listen. He was right, but I didn't listen. So I decided I knew I would be a chiropractor. I never knew what the curriculum was. I knew it was 3 years. I never looked at any of it until my first day. I stepped into Logan. Now, remember what I thought chiropractic was. I didn't know people thought chiropractors were crazy or didn't like it. All I knew was Jesse. That was my world. That's chiropractic. And it's a good thing, because I never lost it. But I walked into Logan, and can you imagine my experience walking by and looking in a door and seeing about 40 butts up in the air with 40 people sticking their fingers in them? And I looked, and I thought, "Oh, man, something ain't right." So I went through Logan and, wondered where chiropractic was. And I would go back and see Jesse as often as I could. And finally, I knew I had to leave Logan and go to Palmer. This is a pretty neat part about how the universe supports your vision and how things you think are impossible can be real. I always dreamed of what it would be like to have the education Jesse had. 6 months. Anatomy, physiology, adjusting, and philosophy. $600, $500. That's what it was. I was only paying $600 at Logan. That's a pretty good deal back then. Anyway, I get to Palmer, and I go into the guy's office that's handling transfer students. So remember, I wanted that schooling that I wanted. So I sat down with this guy, and he said, "I'm here to go over your transcripts, and we're going to figure out what you've had and haven't had so we know what you need to take to graduate from." I said, "Okay." So he's looking at my paperwork, and he goes, "You know what? Why don't you take a look at this list of Palmer classes that you take to graduate, and why don't you just tell me which ones you've had?" Did he really say that? I said, "Okay." So I'm looking at Palmer's thing, and I did wait a few minutes, and I said, "I've had them all." Now, how could I? I was at Logan for 2 years. And the guy said, "Okay." He says, "But you got to be here 18 months, because it don't matter. 18 months here, so you take what you want for 18 months. And I said, "Okay." So for my 18 months at Palmer, I took all kinds of adjusting, philosophy. That's about it for 18 months. And that's where I found out about upper cervical. I met John Grostic, and I liked his answers. He was smart, and I wanted to know, I wanted a technique that would tell me if they needed to be adjusted, and did I do it? That was and Grostic seemed to have that. And he taught me about the unit subluxation, that it wasn't just an atlas or an axis, but when trauma happens to the body, the way the neck's made in the head, it usually will knock the skull, the atlas axis, and lower cervicals out of alignment. So if you're going to correct them, it needs to be a unit correction, an adjustment that moves all of those structures at once back into place. Because if you adjust an atlas, and then you adjust an axis, you move the atlas around. You know, you just can't, that's not up here. You can't do that. It just don't work that way. So I loved the Grostic approach. And it was just difficult. It's hard. And I practiced Grostic and Nuka for about 15 years. And it was wonderful. It was a great practice. It was a fun practice. I had a party every day. Every day was a party, and I got paid for it. And, you know, everything was working great. And Roy Sweat knew me from teaching Grostic to us. And Roy said, hey, I want you to get my instrument. Of course, I said, no instrument could do what these hands can do. And he said, well, then come and spend a week with me and look at these post x-rays. So I did, and he was right. The instrument did better than I was doing. And so he said, now Huffman, do not change your practice over quickly. It'll disturb things. Well, in one weekend, I got rid of the Grostic tables and brought in 3 AO tables, and it didn't affect anything. Nothing. They didn't care. Because they just felt me. They believed me. As long as I was strong and I knew what I was doing, that's all that mattered. And that's how come it worked so well for me. But, so I brought in the instruments, and my problem was I only would hold an adjustment about 30 days. And I was fanatic about it, being careful. I put myself in what I call the chiropractic prison. I was in prison. Now, I was a happy prisoner because the adjustments I got kept me symptom-free, and I didn't have any problems that I could tell. But 30 days or so, and I was afraid to go on vacation and be away from my chiropractor because I just, you know. Well, and no matter who adjusted me, I had the best upper cervical, and I traveled, and it didn't matter. 30 days, maybe 4 or 5 weeks. And an interesting thing happened. I had Stan Pierce Sr., who developed advanced orthogonal, take care of me for about 15 years. And I worked with him in his clinic 2 days a week, learning and being good, and learn how to do it. But I still, 30 days, 4 or 5 weeks would hold. Well, one day I drove down from North Carolina, and I was used to him being in his office. And usually I would call. Well, this time I didn't. And my wife had checked me, and we knew I was out. So we went to his office. They go, he's on vacation. I said, oh, shit, what am I going to do? Well, my wife is a little smarter than me and said, let's go see Stan Pierce Jr. in Clearwater. Well, I'd known Stan since he got out of life. But I figured his dad's got to be a lot smarter than him. I mean, he's his dad. And Stan used to talk to me a lot. When he'd see me in the clinic, he'd try to get me, and he wanted to tell me some of his little ideas. And I was courteous and would look at him like I was listening, and I didn't hear a word he said. Because I figured, it can't be any different. Well, I went to Pierce's office, and he checked me. I was out, he x-rayed and adjusted me, and that was my last adjustment for 6 years I've been holding. 6 years. I haven't, and I get checked. I'm not out. So for 6 years now I've been holding, and why? It was because of the specificness of that technique. He refined it more. He's a brilliant guy. I always ask him, and we're very close, how do you get this information? Well, I mean, we know where it's coming from, but so that and that new instrument he's developed made the difference. And I would encourage you all to look into that upper cervical region. We want Life College, Life University to be the upper cervical school again, like it was, and it's not. But when you can correct this, the miracles happen. The big miracles that you used to read about in BJ's stuff. The reason we don't see a lot of that is because people don't do it as a rule. And I had 2 patients that were prayer warriors. They like to go to the hospital and pray. They said, hey, you want to come with us? I said, no, I don't want to do that. They said, well, come with us. We've got a guy we want you to see. So he was a missionary that had had a terrible accident in South America and was in a coma. They flew him to Tampa General, and he had been in there in a coma for about 3 or 4 months, and they were going to turn the machines off. I mean, this guy just wasn't going to make it. So they said to me, would you adjust him? Well, you can't test, you can't do much with a coma guy. But luckily, these two people had a technique that her husband or wife had taught them to do the surrogate muscle testing thing. So she became the patient, and the guy would check her, and they told me his atlas is a right atlas. That's all right. So I took an activator. What we're going to do? I got up behind him and knocked over a bunch of equipment, and they're holding the door because we didn't know who was coming in at any time. I adjusted his atlas, and we left. Went back 2 days later. They said something's happened. He's breathing on his own now. Okay, checked him, adjusted him again. A few days later, checked him, adjusted him again. That guy left that hospital within 30 days. Completely, well, I won't say he's all right. My dad, I got a phone call from his wife, and he said, hey, if you want to see your dad alive, you need to come to St. Louis real quick. A bad car wreck, and he's in a coma. So I go to the hospital, took the activator. I knew his listing from when I used to take care of him. I hoped it might be the same. So he's in a coma laying there. And I got up over him. He was black and blue, just horrible. And I adjusted his atlas. As soon as I did, he goes. And he got out of there. And I had another lady, her son, coma in the hospital. Went in, adjusted him. Boom, he woke right up. So when you adjust, the big one, that's when those kind of things happen. So I want to encourage you, look into that. I like Stan Pierce's work. I think it's the best that's out there. It is way ahead of the other percussive techniques that are all good, and they do a lot of good work. But I think the Pierce's stuff is way, way, way better. And it's not hard. I mean, Pierce is such a great teacher, and some of you have been to his stuff. He just makes it easy. When I was trying to learn Grosic and the same old stuff, we never got answers. We'd ask. No one knew much. You just did what everyone did. Pierce can answer tell you why. So I think that's what I wanted to tell you. But Jesse awakened me and gave me something that has never left, and it's a wonderful thing. Any questions? Yo.
What is that technique called?
Pierce's technique?
Yeah.
Well, he calls it epic.
Okay. I've heard of it.
Okay. All right.
It's available as an elective at Life. So if you're in the early quarters right now, start thinking about looking into it when you get to the latter quarters.
We started a club as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We have the club there at the school. So I don't know if you know it, but when Life College of Chiropractic opened, it opened with the Life technique, upper cervical AO technique, and Life had its own instrument adjusting table and everything. It just didn't. Things happened along the way with accreditations and stuff that it kind of got lost. So we were kind of like B.J. Palmer at the Palmer School. Through all the years, kept researching until he finally got the upper cervical work. When I went to Palmer, it was an upper cervical school, hole-in-one they called it. And they were just, the tops and table just came out, and they were just starting to incorporate full spine work a little bit when I was in school. What I need is, I'm going to pass a thing out here. I need everybody to, wherever it's at, here it is.
This one?
This, I got a better one.
Shit, excuse me.
I went to making it look nice. Like,
Sure you had
I'm gonna
somebody-
make
I'm
sure.
sure you had somebody do it for you on the computer.
I wanted to make sure that you understand I'm very capable of doing things. Other than talking. And then also, we're gonna pass the hat. And everybody will need a ticket for a raffle tonight. So you take a ticket, keep one part, and the other part you put in the helmet. Okay. This is a heady thing here, so put it in the helmet. Thank you, Dr. Huffman. That was enlightening. It was interesting. I was telling him the first time I went to his clinic, and he was telling her he had a little child that must have been about 2 years old running around the waiting room just creating all kind of mischief. And I was with my son, Dr. Larry, and I said, I wonder why they let this kid just run around like this in the office creating all kinds of havoc. And then when we went back, he says, when this child came in, like 2 months ago, it couldn't walk. And cleared out the atlas and look at. And it's interesting. I don't know if you know too much about the technique. It's not done with the thrust. It's done with auditory and energy, because the stylus never touches you. It creates and just that sound travels and moves the vertebra. It was interesting because last time I was being checked by Dr. Pierce, he said the way your atlas is behind the mastoid, there's no way you could toggle it or anything. The only way you can do this is through an auditory thing, because it has to pass through the mastoid to get to the atlas for the atlas to move. And so I thought that was rather interesting. Nobody had ever told me that one before. Well, you know, after 60 years of practice, I will learn something new along the way. Next up, we got A Better World Tomorrow, Chiropractic. The idea is pediatrics. And when does pediatrics start? Moment of conception. I always think it's interesting. People say when they have children, the mother will say, I go for prenatal care. I say, oh, then you go to a chiropractor, huh? No. I said, how could you get prenatal care if you didn't go to a chiropractor? Well, we go to this obstetrician, and they weigh me, and they check my blood pressure. I said, and then what do? They yell at me for gaining weight, and then they send me home and they have me come back. I says, that's prenatal care? That sounds like Weight Watchers. The only person that can get prenatal care is a chiropractor. He's the only one who can be checking the nervous system, so there's a development that's taking place, because whatever happens in your uterine is happening to that baby. And so when you're checking the mother, that's prenatal care. Anyways, next up was Dr. Rubin, who teaches pediatrics here at Life. And it was interesting because when we started this program about 6 or 7 years ago, Dr. You can come on. He was coming to the programs, and I kept contacting. He says, I'm on the road, because he's out teaching pediatrics all the time. And so this last time I didn't even contact him anymore, and I just had a feeling. I said, what the hell, I'm just going to contact him and see if he can come to this one. And I sent a text to him, and within 30 minutes I get there. He said, I'm at the airport right now, heading home, and I'm free that weekend. He was coming back to another pediatric program or something. So anyway, so without further ado, Dr. Rubin.
So my wife and I, we hike a lot, and we just love what we see in nature and feeling in nature. What am I holding in my hands? An acorn, yeah. So if I want this acorn to grow, right, we're talking about chiropractic future, right? If I wanted this acorn to grow and I leave it right over here, is that acorn going to grow? No. Well, but I took the acorn, I put it somewhere, right? Why isn't it growing?
It's not in the right right place.
I have an idea. Maybe what we need to do to make the acorn grow is I need to like pound on it. Like I should take a hammer and I should break it, right? And if I broke the acorn if I looked at the acorn on the inside, would I see a little tree? Would I see like this miniature tree? Have you ever broken an acorn? Have you ever actually looked at it inside an acorn, right? Do you see a miniature tree? You see like a small itty bitty version of a tree? No, what do you see? You see like dust. Have you ever thought about that? How amazing that is, that inside this acorn is this like, you open it up and you just, some dust will fall out. But if you put the acorn in the ground, right, and you water it and you fertilize it and you give it some sunlight, what happens? It's going to grow. Isn't that amazing? What you guys are doing right now at Life University, this is your acorn. But if you graduate and you do nothing and you leave that acorn right there, then don't expect anything to grow. Right? When you guys graduate, your goal is not just to get out of the school. Your goal isn't just to say, let me just get my license and pass national boards and OSCEs and all the crazy tests that you're going to have to take, right? That's part of your goal. That's how you get there, right? But the goal is once you graduate, you got to put this in the ground, and then you got to water it, and you got to fertilize it, right? And you got to get some sunlight, and that's what Gum in the Chucks is. Like I've had the privilege of listening to Chuck Ribley since my first DE in 1993, right? Some of you guys probably weren't even born then. and he has been pouring his good love and his wisdom and his innate and his philosophy into me for 30-something years. And that's how come I feel like the acorn has grown to the huge tree that has become over the years, because of listening to people like you and Dr. Sid and Dr. Santo and Dr. Satilli and Dr. Sigafus and all these greats that have come before us. But when you plant those trees, those acorns, then you end up with these gorgeous leaves, right? So you walk around and you see this beautiful leaf, and even though it might have been on the ground at the moment, but you see these beautiful leaves. How did that come from this? And isn't it amazing to really think about, not only did this come from this, next year it'll come again. And again for I don't know how many years it's going to do that, right? Isn't that cool? And don't you think this is what we need to explain to our patients? This is what innate is, right? This is universal intelligence. Universal intelligence in action is sitting right here in this acorn. That right here in this acorn is a 100-foot tree. How is that possible? Have you ever thought about that? How is that? Where is the 100-foot tree in this little 1/4-inch acorn that weighs maybe an ounce or two? And if I plant it, and I know this is not the same leaf that comes out of this, but listen, to be honest, I took plant morphology when I was in SUNY Albany in New York. It was the worst science class I took of all the science classes. I was a biology major. I remember nothing, like not even a single. So I know that they probably said, like, out of this acorn comes a certain kind of tree. Maybe it's an oak tree or something. I don't know, is that right? Yeah. That's just right. Okay, I remember one thing. Yes. Yes. But anyway, isn't it cool that this is going to create, like, I don't know how many leaves are on a tree. I haven't really ever looked into that. I'm sure it's on Google somewhere. Siri, how many leaves are on a tree? Let's just say it's 10,000 just to make a number. 10,000 leaves every single year for 150 years. Wow. This is what we need to tell our patients, right? Especially when our kids come in, because I have a mostly pediatric and prenatal practice. When the kids come in and they say, look, doctor, they're always showing me boo-boos. For whatever reason, kids are very fond of showing me their boo-boos and their Band-Aids and this kind of stuff. And I always tell them, do you know how this is going to heal? This is going to heal all by itself, because the food that you eat is going to make all kinds of cells that are going to sew that thing up, and you don't got to do a thing. Isn't that cool? I always tell them. You're like, yeah. And I want us to think about that. Like, how wild is that? That we all probably had dinner before we came here, or maybe you guys are eating some chips, or you got some pizza in a little bit. And tomorrow, that pizza and those chips and the cheese and crackers that you're eating is going to turn into hair and skin and heart and brain. How does that happen? Where does that come from? Isn't that amazing? Right? It always blows me away. How does the stomach know when it goes in there and it digests and it puts all different enzymes in? And how does it know? Well, the brain needs this, and the heart needs this, and the liver needs this, and the bone needs this. And if you get a cut, more of that stuff goes here than over there. How does it know? It blows me away. But that's why chiropractic works. Because the most clearest understanding that I have of chiropractic is that the body needs no help, just no interference. And what happens if there's interference in our system? If there's interference in our system, then the body can't work the way it's supposed to. So all the kids and all the pregnant mamas and all the children on the spectrum and all the kids with ADHD, they're all coming in to see us because there's something interfering with them. And my goal isn't to make a child on the spectrum, because we see dozens of kids on the spectrum every single week. My goal isn't to make them talk. You know what it is? It's to make them the best kid that they can be. Because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if that adjustment, whether you use something as specific as what you're talking about, or you use Activator, or you use Gonstead, you use Diversified, Full Spine, SOT, Network, BGI, whatever it is. They're all beautiful techniques and they all work. But the goal of the technique isn't, I don't treat the symptoms. I don't treat the pain. I don't treat anything. I don't even use the word treatment in my office. What I do is I make sure the brain and the nerve system are working the way it's supposed to. I'm a brain-based chiropractor. All those people out there that are saying, I take care of neck pain and back pain and whiplash and headaches and all those kind of things. No, they don't. Because even if someone comes in with back pain, I'm still not taking care of their back pain. I'm taking care of their brain. Now, I might be touching their spine, and by touching their spine, their nerve system will respond, and the nerve system responds, and it talks to the brainstem, and the brainstem talks to the basal ganglia, and the basal ganglia talks to the thalamus goes into prefrontal cortex, and the motor cortex says, do this, and sends prefrontal cortex, and all this kind of, and then something's going to change, but it's not me touching the spine, right? Me touching, that's my entry in, right? That's like the door. That's the door to let me into their brain. So no matter what technique we're using, no matter how we are adjusting that person, all of us, all chiropractors, whether they want to admit this or not, we are all brain-based chiropractors. Now you can say, I don't believe in that and I don't do that, and that's totally fine. But if you look at MRIs, there's fMRI studies now, and I could show you all kinds of studies that show this. There's fMRI studies that show that every time you adjust that person, their brain lights up in different places. So I know what we do is really brain-based. I know what and even if you think about D.D. Palmer's book is probably over there. I can't see anything from here. But D.D. Palmer's book, The Chiropractor, what is on the front page of that book? It says we're founded on tone. Even D.D. Palmer in 1910 knew that we were working on the brain and nerve system. Holy cow. Talk about being ahead of the times. That's unbelievable to think back in 1910 when they were still just trying to figure out all different parts of the body. This guy knew. Wow. And that's the kind of stuff that excited me because of the words that Chuck used to say and continues to say in DE and on New Beginnings and all the places that I've seen him, and right here in this basement. Unbelievable, the philosophy of chiropractic. Chiropractic isn't a job, right? You may be a chiropractor and you may practice chiropractic, but chiropractic is life, right? It's a life philosophy. So when we talk about being a chiropractor and we say, I'm a chiropractor, I've been a chiropractor for 33 years, my life changed by being a chiropractor. And now what I do is I'm a life changer, right? And what you guys are studying is all how to be life changers. And when you guys over here, right, we have the other section, we've been changing lives for years and years and years. And God, what a gift that is. Like, oh, I can't. My father worked for Emory Air Freight, the air freight company that was trying to compete with FedEx when FedEx and Emory Air Freight were like first born like 30, 40 years ago. And he hated his job. And he would come, I don't know if your parents were like this at all, but my dad would come home and he would open I lived in a little one-bedroom apartment, and he would open the apartment door, and I was sitting on the couch doing my homework when I was in high school, and he would go like, oh, I hate this job. And he'd look at me and say, Drew, please find something you love to do. Please, please, dear God, find something you love. Don't do what I did. Don't just work for the money. Don't just work for the insurance. Do something you love. Find something you love. And I'm so thankful that my mom, a few years after that, found a chiropractor because of back pain, right? So I never poo-poo back pain. If people come in with back pain, don't poo-poo them because they all got kids, right? They all got grandkids if they're seniors. So don't ever say, oh, no, no. Come on in, you got back pain. But what I really want is the kids, right? But anyway, so my mom goes to a chiropractor because of back pain, and he says to her, talking about brain, nerve system, innate intelligence, this guy, and she said, wait a second, do you think you can help my son? And he's like, well, what's going on with your son? Well, he has had asthma for like the last 20 years, right? He's always having these breathing issues. He's puffing on inhalers and taking all kinds of shots and pills and stuff. You think you can help him? And listen to the answer. It wasn't like, yeah, we're going to cure his asthma. We're going to treat, we're going to treat his asthma. We're going to make his asthma go. He said, let's see what happens. Bring him in. Let's see if he's got a subluxation in his spine. See if there's a miscommunication between his brain and his nerve system. That's the only way we'll know, right? So my mom calls me up and says, you got to come see this chiropractor. And I'm a snotty 20-year-old. And I'm like, no. And she said, no. You got to see this chiropractor. I'm telling you. You just got to, just try it, right? I mean, what do you got to lose? I'm going to pay for it, my mom said. Ma, I don't care. I don't need a chiropractor. I don't even know what a chiropractor is. I'm not interested. Thanks so much. Love you. And she said, no, you're going to come see us. I said, no, Mom, I'm really not. And she said, who's paying for your college? When do you want me there? Right? Love you, Mom. And so I went to this chiropractor, and he did not give the story of the 7 danger signals, right? Oh, yeah, well, the danger signal is your slip disc in the neck, right? And the electric, have you ever seen those things? Where there's the lightning bolt going into the neck and a lightning bolt going to the back, and the 7 danger signals? Do you have headaches, back pain, whiplash, neck pain? He said, maybe you have a subluxation that's going from your brain into your lungs, and your brain and your lungs aren't talking the way they're supposed to. And if we adjust you, let's see what happens. Let's see if your brain and your lungs can kind of talk together the way they're supposed to. And lo and behold, within 3 months, so this is June of 1984. By September of 1984, when I'm going back to my senior year at SUNY Albany, I don't have asthma anymore. And I went to my counselor, the career counselor guy, and I before that I was pre-med because I was a biology major, and I said I want to change my major to pre-chiropractic, and he said, don't make a mistake like that. He said chiropractors are quacks, it's charlatans, it's a joke, it's not a real profession. And I said, so then explain to me why I'm breathing. I don't need my inhaler anymore. Can you explain that to me? Oh, that's just coincidence. You probably grew out of it. Yeah, so for 20 years I got something, and suddenly I just dropped it off, right? Right? I said, thanks, I'm never talking to you again. Right? And I applied to chiropractic school, and that's why I'm here. So, and I want you to understand the beauty of what chiropractic is. Because chiropractic is going to, forgetting about all the money you're going to make, which is lovely, but that's not the point. The point, like Chuck was saying, is the service. Right? I do what I do because when I see the little boy who wasn't talking, who's now talking, when I see the boy who is on Ritalin, who doesn't need Ritalin anymore, when I see the little girl who is 4 years old, who is not walking and not talking, and now she is, that's why I do what I do. And I didn't treat that little girl because of her lack of walking and talking. That's not what my goal was. My goal on the goal sheet wasn't to get her to walk and talk. My goal was, what can we do to get her brain and nerve system reconnected better? If there's a disconnection, we have to reconnect it. If there's a disconnection, we reconnect it. And I do this hundreds of times every single day. Disconnect, reconnect, disconnect, reconnect. And what a life you have been given an opportunity to have. And you guys are mostly early on in your educational careers. It's hard. I know. I teach a 10th quarter class. My beautiful wife teaches a 9th and 8th quarter class. It's hard. I get it. I know it. I've been there, right? I graduated from life in '89. So I know what it's about. But I want to tell you, the rewards are infinite, right? Put the work in now. Do everything you can to become that chiropractor and then live the dream. Live the dream by disconnecting the reconnected. And no matter what you end up doing, whether it's pediatrics or it's sports or it's orthopedics or it's geriatrics or whatever it is, it doesn't matter because we're all doing the same thing. And that's, we're really restoring the life in them that had an interference, and we're removing that interference, and then we're allowing that seed in them to grow again. Thank you, guys.
Dr. Rubin, and we said about you make a difference. You remember? You set something in motion, and what unfolds. To me, it's like I like to think about, can we change the world that we're in?
Yeah.
It's very possible. If you start looking out, way out there, and you say, oh, what can I do about way out there? It's insurmountable. Apathy sets in. There's no reason to try. But if you take the world that you have right here, the present moment, this is all I have is right here. What do I do here to make a difference? If I take that one person and reconnect them, and I take that next person and reconnect them, and the next person and reconnect them, and the world changes. And that's what you live in the present. You know, when you live in the present, you're living in the future. And your present is your history. So the thing is, always remember, when you're moving forward, you're constantly taking care, at this moment, the things that need to be taken care of. Most of you are all students, and sometimes you think, well, I can't wait till I can get out there and make a difference as a doc. There's no difference if you're a student or you're a doctor. It has nothing to do with that. What are the differences that you're making right now? If you're a student, when's the last time you give a chiropractic lecture to a non-chiropractic patient, didn't know anything about chiropractic, a non-student? When's the last time you did that? When's the last time you got a gang together when you went home to visit your friends and you started saying, you know what, you'd make a good chiropractor? You've got the hands of a chiropractor. You know that? Now, what happens when you start telling that to your friends?
Something's gonna change.
Remember, I told the story. It was right here. 3 years ago. This young girl comes up to me and says, when you were in Spain, you grabbed my hand and said, you have the hands of a chiropractor. Never heard anything about it. She says, I'm graduating next month from life. You said I have the hands of a chiropractor. Are you doing that with your friends back home? Are you doing that with the people you know? You look at Joe Lupo Field. You think, well, where did Dr. Lupo start from? He was just somebody that we told the chiropractic story back a few years ago. And when he was in school, he went home, and he was a construction worker, had his own business. But when he went home and he was so excited about chiropractic, he started telling all his friends. And before long, there was 20 other friends of his that were attending life at the same time he was. It's like, when do you start changing the world? Do you have to have a degree to do that? You're not supposed to be adjusting. Don't listen to Dr. Hoffman unless you're a chiropractor and you got the degrees. This is a true story. My dad's first experience is going to a chiropractor, got great results, and he went around and adjusted everybody. His job was to install flooring in homes. So years ago, when I was first in practice, this fellow came in to me and he says, my back's bothering me, and can you help me? And he said, 3 or 4 years, this is before I got into school, and I just got into practice now. He says, I had a backache, and I was at your uncle's home, and he said, oh, you need to have Ed. That was my dad. He can adjust your back. So my dad takes and throws him on a footstool, adjusts his back, he gets up, oh, that's great, goes down, gets a case of beer and carries it up, says, I feel great. So then maybe 5, 6 years later now, I'm a chiropractor. I got an education. I do a 3-day exam, take all the x-rays, get them on the table. I got this nice table and everything else, make an adjustment, he gets off it. It hurts. Your dad did a better job. That's what happened. It's like, wow, there you go. Can't pat myself on the back too much for that. It's like, do you know who I am? I'm licensed, though. My dad's a floor cover, so he couldn't get better results than me. The thing is that when you make a connection, it works. How many people have you heard about, you hear stories and stuff? I had an accident, I went deaf. Been deaf for 15 years. Had another accident, my hearing came back. They got a chiropractic adjustment. I found out the steps, now I can see again. They got a chiropractic adjustment. So you go to a chiropractor, the more precise, the more better you're able to clear them out, the better. The more you know. And sometimes you're in school right now and you're starting to say, why do I have to learn all these things? What are all these things you're learning that you don't think you need? You want to start taking care of people that's got health problems? You need to know something about them. Why wouldn't you? You got to relate and talk to patients. You're going to talk to the people about what's happening in this physiology. You know, when Dr. Rubin started explaining about the brain and and he was going on, it's just like, well, that fucker knows what he's talking about. I used to say, brain cell, tissue cell. There's a wire, it's called a nerve. It's like, that's about, oh, okay. But it's good to know the physiology, how it works, have an understanding. Because what does it do? It increases your faith, confidence, and belief. More faith, confidence, and belief and have what you do, better results. And is there something happens when you make an adjustment? Is something else that happens when you adjust a patient? Is there something else going on when you touch a patient other than the fact you're just moving a bone? Because you're not moving a bone. You get in accord with the patient. What's the best kind of patient to take care of? Children, animals. Why? Because they don't think. You adjust them, they just start responding. They haven't been told that you can't get well without having some magic potion. I was interested when listening to Dr. Rubin, he was talking about children with their boo-boos and stuff like this. My kids were raised, if anything happens to you, you fall down and cut yourself, and they take you to the nurse at the school, do not let them put anything on you. If they try to put anything on you, you're to run out of the school as quickly as possible. I taught them that. Run out of the school, right? Run out as fast as you. Do not let them put anything on you. Because they knew they had a power within them. They knew that healing come from within. It didn't come from the magic potion out here. Is that what you instill into your patients? Is that what you instill into your children? This is a very interesting field that you're getting into because it's a way of thinking, a way of life. We got a lot of young people here. You date people. You better be selective about who you date. Because that one day could be a person that you might make a permanent relationship with. And they may not think the way you think. And all of a sudden you can't understand why all of a sudden your spouse or something is now carrying your kids off to medical doctors behind your back and everything else because that's how they think. You want to live your life with people that are vibrating with you. And if you think you're going to change people after you get married, if you don't change before you get married, they're not changing afterwards. Before you get married, girls, they open the door for you. After you get married, you can open the door. You know how to do it. you know, it's that kind of thing. And people aren't going to change. So start looking, start paying attention who you're vibrating with. If you don't vibrate with that person, move on to somebody else. But who's the people you hang around with? Tremendous Jones was a motivational speaker for many, many years. You're a product of the people you are around and the books you read. That's what you're a product of. So who are you associating with? What type of people are you around? On people on the same track of you or not? So be thinking of these things. Who do you study with? People that get good grades? Do we have any golfers here? Well, if you're golfing, you like to go out with a duffer, boy, they can drag your head game down. It's like, oh my God. If you're golfing, you want to go with somebody that's very good because it brings the best out in you now. The same in study habits. Who do you study with? Do you study with people that know, I'm going to ace my exams, I'm going to do this, 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 this? Do you study with people that know that, yeah, the world's got everything stacked in my favor, I can't lose with the stuff I use. That's the way I think, that's the way I function. Because that's what's going to happen when you get out in chiropractic practice too. You can't lose the stuff I use. People come to me. Had a very good patient for years. She understood chiropractic. She only knew success. She came to my office. We saw 300 or 400 patients a day. She only knew success. She went into practice, had success. She had a husband, didn't work out. She dumped him, got another one just like the other one. After 4 or 5 husbands, she said, I can't understand why I can't attract a different type of person in my life. Yet my practice I don't have any problem with. She only knew success as a practice. She would have to change her thinking from within herself to attract somebody different in her life. And as long as she's thinking and functioning that way, she kept attracting the same stuff, the same stuff, the same stuff into her life. So it behooves each and every one of us is how do we think, who are we associating with, and where do we want to go? You want to get out and practice and have immediate success like that? Have you heard you need to be an associate to make it? Or you got to have this, you got to be a franchise candidate? My granddaughter, she opened up in Naples. Jade. We went down there, Dr. Larry and I went down where she had her first open house. The office was open. First open house. 100 people show up at the open house. 35 new patients the first week. She's not been in practice, how long has she been practicing now? Not 3 years yet.
Yeah, 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
Like that.
So in March, she took in $200,000. That's what's available to you. If you think this way, how do you think? Because I can tell you, if you don't think right, you can join the franchise, nothing changes. It's your thinking. You can get all the tools out here and change the way you think, and you can be this great success in life if you change the way you think. So there are many ways that you can go out and be very successful in your practice. We have lots of things. Our management program, all these things are all out there for us to use to our advantage. But if we think that we don't have to do our growth process ourselves and we think those things are going to do it for us, it doesn't work that way. What can each one of you do right now, especially in the early years of your practice? Start going out shadowing people, doctors. Find those successful doctors. Shadow them. By the time you go to a peak time, you're going to be picking a doctor that I can emulate this person. And maybe by that time, you might even be able to work with them afterwards. How about if you went out, I was talking to this young person, I said he was from Cuba. He said down in Miami, he came to our leadership programs and he came out and he didn't come to school to become a chiropractor. He said, I don't know how he says, I liked Eric Plasker when he talked, but I don't think I can make it. I said, you don't think you can make it? I said, you're from Cuba? I said, you get this degree, you go down to Cuba, people will pay you just to come in their office because they know you can attract patients. How about if you didn't want to open an office, you want to go out and have a contract labor with somebody? And you walk into somebody's successful office, you worked, you shadowed, and you peeked, and says, hey, I want to develop a practice in here. Let me do something, and you take part of the action of everything I do. I'm willing to pay $3,000 a month just to get this thing started, because you can't open an office for $3,000 a month. What would happen if all of a sudden you got all this energy and you find somebody to go open it off, you go in there and start working in their office, and then you start paying them a little bit, and when you reach a certain period, they keep 50% of everything you make. That's all you have to do is show up. There's people who will do that. Dr. Dan, how many docs you got in your office?
Well, there's about 13 doctors there, and there's about 9 different practices under one roof.
Yeah, right down the street here in Woodstock. That's available. All this stuff's available. When I was talking about my granddaughter, Jade, who's practicing in Naples, she was out shadowing all the time. She lived out in California. When she was in Santa Barbara, she'd be going to the offices and shadowing them. When she was in school here, she was in the neural clinic here. When Longyear was there, she'd be in there shadowing them. She spent 3 to 6 months of just shadowing them, following them around, seeing what they do. How much effort are you willing to put in to live your dream? Because the dream is now. This isn't something you do next year when you get out of school. It's now. Josh Paxton, he's the alumni president right now. I talked to him when he just graduated. He says, I've had a practice in Marietta Square for a year now. I said, you just graduated? He says, I went and rented a building and I hired a chiropractor to work in there until I got out of school, so I'd have a practice to go into when I got out of school.
Nice.
I never thought of that one. I says, wow. How do you think? How many of you think I don't have to do anything, I'll just get my student loans and I'll worthy? How much do you pay attention to how much student loan you take? Do you take what's necessary? How many of you think along the way that maybe if I work a little bit, student loan, I can take less? Oh, it's too much. I won't go further about what students say to their parents when they're going through school, say how hard it is. It wasn't like you, and I'm talking about in my own family. It's like the same professors were teaching 20 years ago. It's like nothing's different. Yeah, I didn't have to take a national board when I got licensed to practice chiropractic, but I had to take a basic science exam. You know what a basic science exam was? It was an exam given to the osteopaths, the chiropractors, and medical doctors, the same exam. We sit with medical doctors, osteopaths, and chiropractors, and we all took the same exam to get our license. So I guess we had to know something, and it wasn't like, you pick an answer. It was essay. The questions were, you wrote paragraphs about whatever you're explaining. So, life is full of all the bumps along the way. Go strong in what you're doing. But do the story, do the living right now. It's not tomorrow you start. Now is the time you start doing it. Who's done any shadowing in a chiropractic office so far? That's good. Okay.
Lou follows his wife around.
It's like step in line. Okay. Next up, we'll have the wonderful Dr. B.J. Harmon from Life. Most of you have had him in class. That's why you're here, because he tells you to come on down. And without further ado, here you go. Okay, I'll get out of your way in just a second. Make sure you fill out that paper. Thank you.
And I introduced myself to Dr. Huffman, and he said, I used to come to your office in the 1980s when we would do philosophy meetings halfway between each of our DE meetings, because I've realized what Spizz night is. Okay? If anybody asks you what is Spizz night, tell them it's my booster shot. Okay? This is why we do this. Okay? It is your chiropractic booster shot. Right? Halfway through the quarter, your ass is dragging. You got midterms. You're looking, you're saying, shit, how am I going to get through Bordini's class? Right? And you know what? It's not going to matter. Because in 2-3 years from now, this will be in your rearview mirror. And Dr. Sid always used to tell us, when you plow the fields, you look in front of you. You don't look behind you. He always used to tell a story about the Nina the Pinta and the Santa Maria, Christopher Columbus. They had no idea if the New World, or they didn't even think they were going to the New World. They were trying to find a shortcut from Western Europe to India. And if Columbus had taken a left turn instead of going straight, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Everything changes. The world changes because someone makes a decision. So Doc, thank you for being here. Really appreciate that. Okay? 50 years in, he's still got the same energy. Excited about what we do. Because everything that we have tangibly and intangibly, we owe to what we learned, to the mentors that have gone before us. For those of you who I haven't said this to, take a little look at Dr. Ribley's diploma on the wall. Okay? You're shaking your head. What's on that diploma that's special?
Oh, I don't know. I'm listening to you.
Okay? B.J. Palmer's signature. Okay? Which is really a cool thing. Dr. Briegel, Dr. Rubin, myself, you went to Palmer. Was Dave there in those days? Okay? Dave Palmer's on your diploma. Dr. Sid's name is on our diploma. Okay? You happen to be very fortunate. If I could have an instant bromance with anybody, it would be with Dr. Rob Scott. You know, when you hear, how many of you, when you went to undergrad, saw the president of your university walking around? Or had the time or an opportunity just to say hello to talk to the president of your university? Someone who sat there up in some ivory tower who you saw with a pair of binoculars from your seat at graduation with 5,000 other people, probably in a stadium or a big arena. There's too many of you to walk across the stage to get a handshake. You certainly held it and get a picture. Okay? We all look back with fondness. Dr. Rubin mentioned his mentors. Okay? We share a lot of the same mentors. Dr. Ribley's still with us. Thank you for doing this, by the way. What does he get from this? Nothing. He gets gratitude that what we are doing will continue to self-perpetuate. That the message that we got, that he got when he went through school, that he shared with us, that we are sharing with all of you, because if you want a life of happiness, that when your happiness exceeds your reality and your expectations, just keep doing stuff like this. This is your chiropractic booster. We did our chiropractic boosters in between. We had somewhere to go every couple of months to be with like people of like mind who shared the feelings, the thoughts, the hopes, the dreams, the chiropractic. We always saw chiropractic today for a better world tomorrow. Because we are special, we are different, we are unique. We offer humanity something that nobody else offers. And I wrote a little note down. I can still see the poster on the stage at DE where it said, quoting from the AMA News in 1964, "There can never be an ethical relationship between the medical doctor and the cultist who does not practice scientific medicine." Well, what is scientific about saying, if this doesn't work, we'll try this. If this doesn't work, we'll try this. If this doesn't work, we'll try this. Okay? We know what we do. We do what we do because we have certainty. Doc, would you toss me that acorn for a second? You still got that acorn in the bag?
Toss it hard, John.
I got a better idea. See if you can bounce it off of Lou's head and I'll catch it. Okay? Nope. All right? Talked about the acorn. This symbolizes on a smaller scale the miracle of making a 100-foot tree. The greater miracle is look at see the acorn? Okay? There's a tree in here. Well, you know what's in all of us? Other people. Okay? Have you ever stopped to sit back and think truly about the miracle of life? I was used to scare the hell out of my younger daughter. Okay? I said to her, one night, one sperm cell, one egg cell, me and your mother, 280 days later, you popped out. Think about the
She's still cringing.
She still cringes. And she goes, ew, like, okay, you know what? I got bad news for you. The reason you're here is because all of your parents do it. All right? That's how we all, okay? None of us got here by any different way. We all get here the same way. All right? And we all end up being in mommy for 280 days. And that one sperm cell and that one egg cell has the capability to create a living, breathing human being. The eyes are always in the front, the ears are on the side, the nose is here, the mouth is here, the appendages are here. 99.99% of the time, the heart's on the left, the liver's on the, and so on and so forth. That's what we deal with. We deal with the power that has the ability not just to take what you had for breakfast and lunch and turn it into a brain cell, a tissue cell, a kidney cell, a liver cell, an eye cell, not so much on a hair cell, but God created a few perfect heads, the rest he put hair. Thank you, Louis. See? For those of you who don't know Dr. Briga, we were classmates. We spent every day of 3 years together, taught him everything he knew, almost. His wife taught him everything else. But when I say the people you sat next to for the couple of years will be your friends for the next 45 years, I know if I picked up the phone and I had an issue, he'd go, what can I do to help? Or maybe his wife would, but he would be right there. Dr. Ribley said, you are what you are about the people you hang out with. You actually are the sum total of the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with. And in first quarter, Dr. Briegel, myself, and 4 other people bonded together. We called ourselves the Saintly Six. We studied for boards together. We spent holidays together. They were all at my clubhouse in my community the day we got married 44 years ago. My wife Jackie over there, 44 years. Been through thick and thin and yeah, all that other stuff. And the 2 kids. But you are getting into not a profession, you're getting into a way of life. Chiropractic is not just a way of making a living, it is a blueprint, it is a plan for living your life. The LP and the lasting purpose should not be just for us. It's something that you should share with all your patients. It would be better if everybody lived a lasting purpose, to do, to give, to love, to serve out of our own abundance with no expectation of anything in return. Is it your intention to make money, or is it your intention to change lives? If it's your intention to change lives, God, I'm telling you, you will be rewarded with everything you have asked for and stuff you haven't even asked for. Okay? We've got a wonderful life. We've got 2 wonderful daughters, 2 sons-in-law, 2 grandkids. Now, I've got it all. Okay? And I still enjoy doing what I'm doing on a Saturday night, to be here with all of you, because it is important that you pass the baton. It's a relay race. You ever watch the Olympics? There's a 4x400s. You pass the baton on to the next one. Okay? Well, we're in the gun lap. We're not going to be here forever. It's important that you tell everybody. Take a little walk. Dr. Ribley talked about Dr. Cousineau, Dr. Rassel, all those people. Take a little walk along the path and look at the hand and footprints of the founders. We lost another one of our founders about 2 months ago by the name of Dr. Mike Nathanson from Florida. Used to drive around and yell and scream at the medical doctors. Dr. John Hoffman, another one of the founders, was probably the closest thing I had to a role model. He'd see 300 patients in a day, go home. On the way home, he'd roll the windows down, crank up the stereo just to piss off the neighbors when he drove into his neighborhood. Okay? Making an arrival. Make yourself a presence. Make your office a destination. 80% of if you watch, there's a video from a TED Talk by the name of Scott Dinsmore, founded a program called Live Your Legend. He says 80% of the world, like Dr. Rubin's father, hated their jobs, hate their lives. Imagine if 80% loved their lives, loved what they do. Wouldn't it be a better place? You have the ability to be able to change their lives, remove some of their stress. There was a reason chiropractors were declared essential workers when everything shut down, because people needed what we had at that time. Chiropractors flourished during that time. Patients were, people in general were all stressed out, no matter what they did. Don't let the little stuff get in your way. DE post. Yep. Okay. 1977, a quarter before I started, I drove up here with a guy I was supposed to share an apartment with. But a couple of weeks later, we went out on a first date, and I told him, well, I don't think I'm going to be sharing an apartment with you. But we went to DE at the Peachtree Plaza in downtown Atlanta. There were 1,000 people in the room. First of all, that big scary guy who founded the school, I couldn't understand a damn thing he was saying. Okay? When my buddy told me, who gave me my first 2 adjustments, told me if I was going to start school, I'd go to Marietta, Georgia. I looked at him, I said, are you fucking kidding me? They talk funny down there. I've never been further south than South Jersey. And he said to me with the strength and conviction, if I was going to start over again, that's where I'd go to school. And I walked into that, I did my prereqs, drove up here, went to and there were 1,000 people in the room. Couldn't understand a thing anybody said, but you know what it was? You could feel the energy. You could feel the hum. You walk into certain chiropractic offices, it's a handshake like this. Don't you just want to, when someone gives you the dead fish handshake, you just want to do this. But someone gives you the handshake like that, you feel something. Or as Dr. Sid used to do, he would take his index finger and palpate your pisiform. And then he'd say, boy, because everything started with or finished with, boy, you got the makings of a great chiropractor. You got a hell of a pisiform there. That is exactly what he would say and what he would do. And you know what? You could feel his presence before he walked into the room. When you walk into a powerful chiropractor's office who doesn't just say it but just owns it, you could feel the presence. You can feel the energy. All of you are in school, okay? When an instructor walks into the classroom, you know which ones you can bullshit around a little bit and pull their chain and get away with murder. But some that nuts to you. But there are some when the instructor walks into the room, you just sit up and shut up. Okay? Dr. Breedlin, we had a lot of those. They walked into the room, they commanded the authority because you know what? They've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Okay? You'll all become part of the club. Is it hard? Yes. If it was easy, everybody would do it. But you know what? It is so worthwhile. When someone comes into you, you know how you know you've been arrived? When one of your patients comes in and says, Doc, my daughter had a baby, would you come check the baby? Is there anything more priceless to a parent than their child? When they say, check my child. Wow, that's hot stuff. They trust you with the most priceless, it's hard to say possession, but the thing that is most important to them, the parent would lay down their lives for that child in a heartbeat, but it'd say, would you check my child? Wow, that's a great day. We don't work, okay? It's not work. I don't say, I'm going to work. What do I say to one? I'm going to school. I'm going to school. I'm not going to work. Is it work now? Yeah. But there's a phrase, if you've ever been in the business world, ROI. This is return on the investment time. This is the time you are investing in yourselves. And you shadow chiropractors. Find out what you like about a chiropractor's office. Find out what you don't like, what you want to do, what you don't want to do. How do you want to practice? Do you want to be, I go to an upper cervical doc. I've been going to an Atlas orthospinologist, a former student of mine whose father was chairman of the board of trustees. Man, I trust my chiropractor unconditionally. Okay, works for me. He's been in practice 23, 24 years. We actually went to a concert last week, took him out to it, found out he was a big Pink Floyd fan. Went up to Mad Life. Donnie Parkerson. Okay? We had a ball. Find something you love to do, and you'll never work a day in your life. And you know what? You won't have any regrets. And more importantly, take time to enjoy it. When you get into practice, take time. 7 weeks, we got 7 weeks off a year teaching. We go away every break. I mean, we go somewhere. We go on a cruise. We go down to Florida, visit my daughter. Where'd we go? Went to, what'd we go? Was it 5 days, a couple of days in Hilton Head on the short break before homecoming? We go somewhere every time. Because you know what? I like to get away. What does it say on my hat?
Hard Rock Cafe.
Where?
Reykjavik.
Reykjavik. Who said Reykjavik? Where's Reykjavik? Iceland. We went to Iceland and Ireland over the summer break. Okay, what? And Amsterdam. I ain't saying nothing. Okay? I am. Yes, Sydney saw the socks. I am invoking my right to the Fifth Amendment. But enjoy things. Work hard, play hard. To quote Eric Plasker, he talks about prep time, which is all the things you do to get yourself mentally and physically ready. When I was in practicing 200 patients a day, I was running 30 to 40 miles a week, playing racquetball, tennis, golf, softball, and 120-foot open water certified scuba diver. I was in tip-top shape. I was trying to get ready to run a marathon. Longest race I did was a 30K. Okay? If you want to see people, take care of yourself, invest. If you meditate, if you exercise, whatever it is you do, invest in yourselves. Okay? Be mentally prepared. And when you see patients, if you're not busy, don't spend 20 minutes with them, because Innate will send you 3 patients an hour. Okay? Spend 3 minutes with a patient. If you educate your patients, that's what chiropractic is. Dr. Huffman, he didn't know what chiropractic was. Was it a knee chest, or was it a knee chest on a knee chest table, or was it a toggle?
Oh, it was like those things they check your shoes when you go to the shoe store.
So knee. Oh, it was.
Flat little bench.
Okay.
No.
Head turn.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was an old knee chest before. Yeah, I'll tell you.
It's a bench
That was moving. It was probably kale or something like it before kale. But yeah, when you got that first adjustment, must have rocked your world. I remember my first Grostic adjustment is from it was Gary Walsman when I was a student. Adjusted my atlas. I got the sweats and the chills at the same time, and I said, "Damn, this shit works." Okay, something happened. Something changes. I've told this story in some of my classes. What really sealed Dr. Briegel and myself in, he was pretty sealed in. We saw a video fluoroscopy of an atlas toggle in second quarter that showed the atlas oscillate for a second before it settled into place. Okay? That's not an aha moment. That's a WTF moment. You want to get patients to aha moments. You want to get patients to say, "Doc," and I'm going to use you off the life video that I used to show when I taught the 6th quarter class. Dr. Rubin said to his chiropractor, "Why didn't somebody tell me this before?" And the chiropractor said, "I'm telling you now." Okay? Patients are going to say, "You know what? Again, it's in the past. Can't undo the past. But you can change the future. And you can change their future for the better just by saying, 'Shut up and lie down.'" Like Dr. Schroeder did to Dr. Hoffman. Like all of us have had happen to us. Life-changing experiences. Something changed your life, which is why you're here. And what we're doing doesn't spread out arithmetically, it spreads out geometrically. All right? Dr. Ribley asked me to help out with Spizz Night a couple of years ago. We got skin in the game, don't we? We got a lot of skin in the game. We got a lot of time, and we want our kids and our grandkids and our great-grandkids to have a place where they can go get a chiropractic adjustment. And Dr. Fred Barge, when he used to talk about at Life and the DE, Dr. Fred Barge, who was another one of our mentors, Fred Barge's father, Henry Barge, went to Palmer and graduated in 1923. They had two-person desks. Henry Barge's seatmate was Clarence Gonstead. Fred Barge went to Palmer in the 50s when it was all upper cervical. After he graduated, his father said, you need to learn to adjust full spine. He sent him off to Logan for 3 trimesters to learn how to adjust full spine, then shipped his ass up to Mount Horeb to learn to adjust from his friend Clarence Gonstead. And he always used to say about Logan, called him the colt of the brown thumb. That's what they used to say. But Logan Basic, you teach it in pediatrics, right? It works. If you have a colicky baby and you do Logan Basic on him, you better have a diaper real close. Or tell the parents to line the car seat, because shit will happen real quickly. But the beauty is, whatever technique it is, if you do Logan Basic, if you do AO, if you do Epic, if you do full spine, become a master. Become a master. When we were in first quarter, we would take a spine apart, blindfold each other, reach into the box, and have to figure out which vertebrae it was with our eyes closed, blindfolded. Okay? I have your Clum notes, by the way, still. They're in my office, our notes from first quarter. And on the very top of the syllabus, Dr. Jerry Clum, who was president of Life West, was our spinal anatomy teacher in January of '78. You got it handwritten. If you love something enough, it will give up its secrets. That's what we learned from Jerry Clum. That's what we learned from all these Palmer grads who were our age pretty much when we went through school. They were all philosophically motivated. They were passionate. They could move bones 6 ways to Sunday. When we went to DE, everybody talked the same talk. It came out a little bit differently. They all showed up, did orientations on Wednesday, and showed up every day to the office. Okay? The best ability is availability. Be there. The key to success is show up, and then expect people to show up. If you do the right thing, it's about them. It's not about you. It's about what you have to offer to help them become a better human being, a better person. And then you'll change their lives, so much so they may end up, Doc, I want to do what you do. Where do I go to school? And you don't send them to Logan. Even though our best friend's daughter went to Logan, but she was born into it. Heather. Okay? We are delighted that everybody's here. We want more next time. We want to outgrow the basement. We want to move to the clubhouse. And then we want to have to rent a facility or something to do this. Okay? B.J. Palmer said, the candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. It is always better to light one candle than to curse the darkness. We need more candles to illuminate the world so it's a better place for all of us and all of your kids and your kids' kids, and maybe, just maybe, we will tip the world a half a degree on its axis and change things unimaginable years before. Okay? Glad you're all here. Thanks so much for listening. And I didn't do much of this anyway.
Just for the sake of Dr. Harmon talking about outgrowing this facility, we do have a lasting purpose center. It's going in the McMillan building. Be on campus. All we need is the resources to
be the Ribley building.
the resources to finish off on the inside, and our intent is to make it so that we can have our Spizz nights right on campus in this facility, so that we can get 400 or 500 people in there and get this thing cranking. It's very important that Life Force that you attend, become very active in Life Force. It keeps you on target. Good speakers. If any of your docs, bring your docs that work for you. It's interesting. Years ago, when you used to go to chiropractic meetings, I used to close my office because you'd come from out of state and things like this. And then when you have something locally, doctors think, oh, you don't close your office. You keep your associates working and you just come to these meetings or something. And to me, it's like, you want to spread the word? you empower everybody. And that's why as students, whatever meetings you can attend, make sure you attend those meetings. I know you have classes going on sometimes, but make sure you're there as much as possible. Why would you want to become a chiropractor? The story is very simple. It has a great premise it comes from. There's a universal power that's created all things. It exists in all of us, and it causes all the healing to take place. The other part, it works. You adjust people, they get well. Third, it pays very well. It's like when you have Wells Fargo leave your office and take your money to the bank, it's a good feeling. But the interesting thing, chiropractors would do it for free. How many chiropractors have been on trips and they're adjusting people and you don't check their insurance policy? You just start adjusting. If you adjusted any babies along the way, Drew, it's like, we just like to adjust. But we get to make a good living out of it. And the fourth reason is there's one day that's going to happen, and you're going to depart for the pearly gates. You're going to be standing, and St. Pete says, "What do you want?" And he says, "I'd like to come in." And they said, "What'd you do with your life?" Well, you won't have to say you took up space. You made a difference. And when you put all those four parts together, I think everybody's looking for a purpose in life. What is a purpose? Why am I here? And for some of you who are students, it's to recommit yourself. Why are you here? Are you willing to pay the price to live your dream? And it is the dream to be what you want to be. I was like at Life Leadership 2 meetings ago, and this young fellow, he came with his girlfriend about becoming a chiropractor. She was going to become a chiropractor, and I was talking to him. I says, "Oh, how about you?" He said, "I like it." He says, "But I have this thing, I want to be a teacher." And I said, "Oh." I said, "Well, think of the lives you could touch." I'm not talking about chiropractic, and I'm trying to sell a program. And he said, "Oh." So we were having a nice discussion, and we were going to the dessert party afterwards. He said, how about we continue talking at the dessert party? And I said, "Okay." So we got over there, and he sat down, and I spent the next hour talking with him. And he says, "You know what?" He says, "I believe I can be the difference in the world. I want to teach sociology, social studies to children, young people. I believe that I can instill something in them that nobody else can." I says, "Is this the way you feel in your heart?" He says, "Yeah." I says, "Well, we need more people teaching social studies that feel that in their heart." And it's like when you go to the leadership program that we have at the school, it's not about turning people into chiropractors. And we do the ropes course, we do everything. It's about getting them in touch with what's going on within themselves to live what their dream is. And if they get introduced to chiropractic, many of these people become chiropractors from that point of view. And that's why you will have some adults that are coming, and they're coming with their children, all of a sudden they're going to school. I've had I had a young fellow talking to him about becoming a chiropractor, and his dad was in Tuandai at the time, this is a few years back. And so after talking with the son about becoming a chiropractor, they decided to go to school together, and they both, father and son, wanted to become chiropractor. I had this other individual, he was probably close to 40, talked about being a chiropractor. He said, "I can't do it, I got 7 children. I work 2 jobs to feed them." And so, okay, kept talking, chiropractic. So he decided, I'm just going to go do it. Sold his home. He went to Davenport. Life wasn't open at the time. Opened up a daycare center. Had 30-some children. You got, like 7. What's a few more? And he was making more money with the daycare than he made when he worked 2 jobs back home. And he studied how to become a chiropractor. He did his undergrad and his grad all at the same time. Graduated, and he passed away last year at 91, still in active practice all the way. Live the dream. Live that dream. Now, did everybody sign that they were here? Because this is an attendance thing. Yep. Oh, did everybody sign it? Okay. Everybody's got a ticket? I got all the tickets. In fact, I have the winning ticket in here. So Was it, did you talk about the chiropractor? Tone?
Me?
Yeah? Dee
No,
Palmer's
Drew
book?
did.
Dee Palmer's
Dr.
book?
Rubin talked about the book,
Huh?
Dee Dee in 1910.
Yeah. So this is Dee Palmer's book, and this is the chiropractor.
It's not signed, is it?
It's signed. Yeah. See, it's signed. I believe, I'll just look at the date here. 1914, this was published. And someone is going to walk away with this book tonight. It's all about tone. It even talks about conditions and stuff like of that nature and how chiropractic affects it by restoring brain and nerve function. Probably, even if you're a chiropractor, you probably have never seen the book. Now, who's got that winning ticket?
I do.
I do.
Now, we were at in Clearwater at the Epic seminar. Who won? What'd you win?
A vacation to I don't even know where yet.
He's got a vacation. But afterwards, because I got a ticket for all the students that were there, we had about 38 students there, and I told them, everybody's the winner. This one person may have won something today, but you're all holding a winning ticket, and it's going to come to you at the right time in the right way. So always remember, you always have the winning tickets in life. This doesn't mean whoever walks away with this book that they were the winner. They're the winner today, but you're still the winner. You're living in expectations for the miracles and winning things to happen to you right now. That's how you live. Oral Roberts was a preacher out in the Midwest. He said, expect a miracle. So as you wake up in the morning, he said, well, the miracle doesn't happen. Oh, it must be coming tomorrow. Because I live in expectation. Joe Dispenza said, when you put something out and you visualize it, and you live in the expectations of it happening, and then you release it. And you allow the universe to bring it about in its own time and place. You live in the expectations of the miracles taking place in your life. And that's the lasting purpose. You give it out of your own abundance. Well, no preconceived thought. I just do it. I live in that abundance of life. I live in the winning attitude of life. I live in the attitude that I pass in boards, exams. I live in an attitude that patients want what I have. I live in an attitude when I'm going to the student clinic and in a public clinic that people want what I have, that people want to bring their children to me, allow me to touch them. I live in that type of world. This is my sphere. I'm in complete control of my sphere, for I live in the winner's world. So, we'll have you pull a ticket out. But take only one, because I don't want to break the book in half.
Got the hands in the
And what is the
086387.
Oh, that's me.
Oh.
She won last time too.
No, I really won.
First quarter student, first hand up. Bingo. I have Dee Dee's books. Enjoy it. Okay?
I said I had the winning ticket.
Right.
You were talking about me.
Well, yeah. Him too.
Well, when you said first quarter, put your hand.
I wanted a first quarter student to have the book.
I know, but I thought I had my hand up first because I'm the first quarter student.
It was your book. You should have kept it.
It evidently wasn't my book. What's mine is mine, and what isn't goes away.
Yeah, but that wasn't Jackie's either, even though she had a winning ticket.
Okay, we'll just do a little thing. I need 2 chairs here, just for the hell of it. Folding chair here and a folding chair here. Pass me one of those sheets, brown sheets. That's it. Okay, watch your toes.
This is because I give a sheet.
You might have to move your seats back just a slight bit.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Oh my God, I need to take pictures.
What is this? It's a safe environment, you can say it. Is it solid? Huh? What's it consist mostly of? Space? Kind of like what's between your ears. What exists between up here? Mostly space? Between your ears? What's put in there all the time? Does the world fill your space up with stuff? Does the world fill your space up with it? What does the world tell you? Exams will be hard. People don't do it. Why are you becoming a chiropractor? Why this? The virus is coming. Don't drink Corona anymore. What's the world telling you? You know, it's constantly spending it. It's like you're grabbing up in case you miss something. You know, gotta make sure I watch that TV, get the news. So this is mostly space. This is what's between my ears. And down here is my dream. You all got a dream?
Yeah.
Are you excited about your fucking dream?
Yes.
I find I'm more excited about people's dreams than they are about themselves. We do interwinters programs, and it's like, come on. Yeah. It's like yeah, come on now. It's like, so, this represents what the world talks to you about it all the time, right? It's jabbering. Do you have this inner dialogue going? You can't do it. Who do you think you are? Boop, 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 boop. It's like, no, but my dream's down here. You can't do that. You're just a wimp. Besides, your mother doesn't love you anyway. Your father doesn't love you. Dr. Harmon's going to get you in class. That part's true. Don't adjust those babies, they're fragile. So, first time I seen a child, I got out to Davenport, Iowa. I'd never seen babies being adjusted before. And this friend, I met him at school, and he had a little child who was 3 months of age, and they called Dr. Quigley. Dr. Quigley was Mabel Palmer's nephew. He was a chiropractor. He used to teach at the school. So he came out, checked the child. And he takes this little 3-month-old kid. You know, like I've never seen this happen. And then he goes, "Mom!" So, I go, "Oh!" So, wow. After that, I was never scared of adjusting children. You can do that. You can do anything. And it's like, and of course, the child got well. She became a chiropractor. But that's just a story. You don't believe it, do you? Jabber, jabber, jabber. What's going on? If I wanted to get my dream, what would I focus on life if I had a dream that was down here? I'm God's greatest creature. I'm going to have the biggest practice. Those new ones are coming in. I ace exams. Life is easy. Life was never meant to be a struggle. Yeah, but you forgot about me. I told you the other. Listen. You're getting the jabbers. That's like, fuck off. Do you know who you're talking to me? Fuck you instead. Enough's enough. This is my dream. This is my fucking dream. Now, is there anybody who's never done this before would like to go for a dream? If so, you may come up here. I want to say, okay, there you go. Can I have another? Now, I want to tell you a couple things.
Okay.
In life, BJ said the most important thing you have is you're educated to get to your dream. So, if I was going to go for my dream, I'd know it's down here and I'd feel it. But I'd have my eyes open so I could see what I'm doing, because I wouldn't want to sit and beat the sides of it and everything. I also would look to say, how is life flowing? And I'd like to go with the grain. That makes sense. And then if I was to use my hand, I think I'd use a part that's got some tissue there so it feels good instead of bones. So, me and my intellect, I can say, yeah, I can do that. I can pay attention to what I'm doing. I can be focused, but I can be focused on my dream. Now, I want you to have something right now that this would represent to you. Have meaning for it. This is a metaphor. As easily as you go for your dream and you go here, that's what you're going to have happen in your life. Now, if you're right-handed? Right-handed?
Right-handed. Yeah.
Okay. So you don't have no bracelets on your right hand, so you won't be smacking him. It's on your left hand. So we're all set. So
Okay.
I want you to get your hand down here. Feel the dream down here. Put your hand down here. Feel it. Can you feel your dream? Do you feel your fucking dream? I don't hear you saying it.
What if the dream is letting go?
I don't care what it is.
Okay.
Can you feel what it feels like to let go, finally? This is it. I'm going to let go, whatever. Get the feeling of it. When you got that feeling, you can lift your hand back up and you just go for that let go feeling that's down there. Yes! Now, the next part is the hardest part. Would you stand up and explain to you what you felt when you did that, when you went through? Or anything?
Yeah, so I said letting go, and I think that comes from sometimes like trying too hard to create something, and then instead of just being open to what you need to receive and letting innate intelligence, right, God guide you in that dream. And 'cause I think sometimes we create expectations, or we create something that like we want to just hold on to with all of our might, and we either fall short of that.
Okay, and this would help you out. When you're
Yeah.
saying this, don't tell them what they would be feeling.
Oh,
Tell,
it's
say,
mine.
it's you. It's I.
Yeah,
I.
okay.
'Cause
Yeah, you're right.
everything you do
Yeah.
right now, you want to be empowered by what you just did.
Yeah.
So I learned this, I feel this, I am
Okay.
this, and then what was that? How did I feel when I really went for it? What was my
Okay.
feeling beforehand? It doesn't matter, but
Okay.
it's you.
So I, myself, yeah, I felt like I just need to let go of that, because I know that whatever expectations I have for myself doesn't even come close to what I know, like, the lasting purpose is. And I want to be aligned with that, and like how you said, like, God's purpose is like our lasting purpose. That's how I think of it. And I want to be aligned with that, because I know whatever that is, it's much more than what I could ever try to put together. And then I just felt a really bright feeling under there, like bright and just kind of, I guess, like hopeful to the possibilities. Like almost like an endless feeling, like it almost felt like nothing there. And I feel like to me that was like the void, which is like the endless possibilities that each one of us has, and particularly like what I was feeling in that moment. And then once I felt onto what that felt like.
Oh,
just went for it.
good. Thank you. Does anybody else want to do it? Okay, we got two. Okay, get up here. And once you're facing the camera, I'll get out of the way so that you can do whatever you want to do.
You can buy a vowel.
There you go. Okay. Make sure you got it as a metaphor for something in your life that you want. Ew. Yes. Who else? Somebody else had their hand up.
Share all of my emotions.
Okay, with
with the grain, so. Passed Dr. Herman's class.
Okay. So, just Ben, wait. What'd you feel when you went through it? Anything?
A little pain. No. Felt good.
Okay.
Success.
That's all just good?
Good. Success. What'd you feel?
That's it.
Pass the mic,
Yeah. What'd you feel?
I felt the force of everyone behind me who had given me something to get me to here, because I've been given a lot in my life, and I just want to be able to pass that on. So,
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. The other thing is, who's been to Inner Winters? Wow. Have I met any of you? I need to have someone, 2 or 3 of you come up. I want you to share your experience at Inner Winters and why you think other people might find it beneficial. Don't run, you'll stumble. Come on. The clock is ticking. Okay.
You got it.
Okay, that's it. That's 2 then.
Okay.
We got. Go for it.
All right, so I've been to 3 Inner Winters so far. And the first time I went, I was just about to start chiropractic school, and I came in and I was a little bit pissed off because I had just gotten in a fight with my parents about going, and I was like, you know what, you want me to go to this? I'm not going to go. And my mom looked at me and was like, you don't really have an option. And so I went, and I was like, I'm not going to get anything out of it. I'm not going to get anything out of it. And just tried to lock down myself so that I didn't get in. First event rolls around, and I look around, and I'm like, well, that plan is not going to work out at all. So it's an amazing weekend that you can't go there and leave the same person. You will get something out of it. You will figure out something about yourself that you didn't realize, and either something small in your life or something big in your life will change. Usually it's something big. Almost all the time it's something big. And it's just a great time. Some of the best friends that I've got in this program are from Inner Winters. I'm looking around the room and I'm just I see literally half the room was and so yeah, it's an amazing experience, and I would highly recommend anybody to go. Oh, I was just gonna get there.
I'll hand it to her.
Oh, my bad.
The interesting thing about Inner Winters, it's a course in transcending to a different level of consciousness. It's not making a transformation, becoming something else. It's about tuning into what you are and bringing it out. And that's the secret, the magic that happens.
So I've only been to 1 Inner Winters, and I don't use this word lightly, but it was life-changing. And I got to heal the chiropractor before I can heal the people that I serve. And for the first time in my adult life, I was able to fully love myself. So that was really a great experience, and I think everyone should go.
Who's next?
What do you guys
Hello. I've been to 2 Inner Winters and actually just put my deposit down to go to my 3rd. It is something that it actually happened, and my first one that I went to, it happened very suddenly. I just kind of got thrown into it and really had no idea what I was getting myself into. Turned out to be, like Sienna said, completely life-changing to the point where I can't even imagine, or don't even want to imagine, what my life would be without doing that. And I think that Inner Winters is just something that absolutely every single one of you people in this room should do. I've had so many amazing experiences after Interwinters because of things that have been lit up in myself. I've had job opportunities, speaking opportunities, job offers, like so many different things that have come out of that experience, and so much confidence that has been just innately born within myself that I hope that all of you can experience. I know you can, that if you make that commitment to yourself to be able to do that, that will happen for you. And I think that a lot of you guys can tell that a lot of us know each other in here because of this experience, and you're going to be able to create relationships with people that you've never even possibly imagined that you could have. It was just a beautiful experience. I hope that all you guys, make that commitment and do it.
Who's next? Jenna, you want to say something? Yeah. No, Matt, you're next then. Oh, okay.
Hi. I'm Jenna. So I just graduated high school. I'm not in the chiropractic program, but I went to my first Interwinters when I was 16, and like Austin, I'm a chiro kid, and I kind of got thrown into it, so I was like, oh boy. And at this point in my life, my perspective was completely in the 180 shift on everything, and I'd grown up with chiropractic principles, but it wasn't, I think now that I can see it, my parents wanted me to be able to discover it on my own and not have it just be force-fed to me, and that's what I believed because that's what my parents thought, and which was really magical for me. But for my first Interwinters, just allowing yourself to be able to live in that highest vibration that River was talking about, and just the connection to yourself, the connection you can build with others. Once you have that connection to yourself, it's going to be life-changing. And yeah, but I've been to 3 since then. I don't think they're going to be able to get rid of me. But yeah, I know for a fact that I wouldn't be standing here right now talking if I hadn't gone, and I wouldn't be at all where I am today. But I'm very grateful.
So when I went to Interwinters, I felt like I was kind of just going through the motions. I was at that point in the program, and we all go through it. You first quarters, you will get there eventually. Unfortunately, this program beats you down. And so I just needed something to shake it up and remind me why I'm here. And while I was there, like Sienna said, she learned to love herself. For the first time in her adult life, she was able to realize, I love myself. I realized what unconditional love towards other people was. And so before I would not have been able to say this, I can look at every single person in this room. A lot of you I've never seen before. But I can tell you from the bottom of my heart that I love you. That's not something I would have been able to do before Interwinters. And just the connections that I've been able to build, the relationships and the discoveries that I was able to make about myself would not have been possible without this experience. So I highly recommend anybody in this room, whether you're in the chiropractic program or not, I think it's an experience that you could get a lot out of. So highly recommend.
Our next one's coming up March the 2nd through the 5th. It's in Dahlonega, which is about a 45-minute drive from here. It starts on a Thursday evening at 4 o'clock, ends on Sunday at 12 noon. We'll have a board up here that anybody's interested in it, put your name on it. You can talk to Jenna while you're here. Also, Kathy Hant, whatever. One further ado is that my son, Dr. Dan back here, and his son, Dr. Palmer. They're successful chiropractors, practice in Woodstock here. And he's got you have a sheet you're going to pass out or something. Did you want to say something here?
Yeah, I did. Thanks, River. So thank you guys all for being here. Obviously, when we talked about purpose, this is why this guy gets up every day, is because of you guys. It's purpose. With that being said, whoever is I'm going to sponsor someone for Interwinters. So someone's going to get a ride on me because you're going to be willing to get your shovels out and dig deep inside, find out what's going on and how to become a human amazing God creation. But let me share something with you real quick. I got an extra couple minutes?
Yes, go on.
Let me share a story with you real quick. So there was this young lady, and she was complaining about her life and how she doesn't get the breaks, and she doesn't get this, and she doesn't get that. And her dad was just tired of hearing this. And he said, okay, how about you stop complaining and let's go into the kitchen and let's do a little experiment. So he went into the kitchen, and he had 3 pots of boiling water. And he put a potato in one, and he put an egg in another, and he put coffee in another. Let it boil for a little while, and then he says, okay, now that we've done letting it boil, what have you learned when we pull the potato out? It got softer. What did we learn when we pull the egg out? It got harder. And what did we learn when we're sipping on the coffee and the aroma and the taste and the flavor? Is that the water boiled at the same temperature for the potato made it softer. The water boiled at the same temperature made the egg harder, and then the aroma of the coffee influenced the water instead of the water influencing the potato or the egg. And so what I'm going to suggest is that this is one of the reasons why we go through an inner winters. Is so when things hit us and we're uncomfortable and we don't know what to do in life and we want to complain about things, is you get to determine, are you going to be influenced and get softer when your environment challenges you? Are you going to get harder and more gripped? Or are you going to influence the water? Are you going to be the coffee of life? So I want you to think about that. Why would you sign up for inner winters? Because you want to be the coffee in life. You do not want life to harden you, make you soft, make you run. You want to change life. That's why you would go. So one of the things that I'm very passionate about is obviously chiropractic. I've been raised in it. I don't know anything different. And I've also been passionate about the human potential, about people and the seed of who we are. And so I've been involved with some networking opportunities, and it's actually, believe it or not, made me millions in life. And a complement to what I do in practice. And what happened is it gave me an opportunity to expand my vision about what I could do with chiropractors. And so one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to say, God, how can I see more people? And what I've learned out of being involved in networking is that I would rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than just 100% of my own. And it's evolved where I've got 10 different chiropractors in there influencing Woodstock, not just myself. And that happened because I had fun earning extra side hustle money that turned into millions. And so I'm actually really excited because one of my mentors in networking has approached me and said, hey, listen, I've got something I think would be a great complement to what you do. And it's a patch that actually rejuvenates our stem cells. So I'm going to offer up the opportunity for anyone that wants a side hustle, instead of just going through school and getting the max loans out or getting a job somewhere while you're going through school, or while you're out in practice, or while you're a human being anywhere. These things have actually been amazing. So it's an opportunity to be able to, what I have learned, tap into what I think is God's checkbook inside of all of us. I call it God's checkbook because I believe that we all have this inherent abundance. How do we get to it? Well, we get to it by changing people's lives, however you do that, chiropractically or however else, because I want every human being to understand their abundance is there for them if they pull it out of them. So what I do is I've also created networks. The X39 is what it's called. It's a patch that actually is crystals, and it's a frequency that sends out a frequency to your stem cells that have kind of died off, aren't working, aren't complementing. So Drew, when he was talking, and this is the thing I say to people all the time, we are co-creators of our life. So when we eat certain things, we turn them into certain things inside of our body. If we actually had to think about that while we're out there analyzing x-rays, adjusting people, and going, oh my God, that's right, I ate a sub and I got to turn it into this, and this, we'd be overwhelmed. Well, we don't have to do that because we are co-creators with God. With our bodies, with our minds, our soul, with people we're with. So we also want to co-create with what we do with our bodies, what we do with our minds, and what we do to help God give us abundance. So this is an opportunity. I've teamed up with Palmer, and this is a brand new patch that's on the market. If anyone's interested, and we'll stick around if there's information, but really what I would want you to do, if you would be interested, is meditate on it. Say, is this something that I'd be interested in? I'm interested in it because it's all about frequency. It's all about energy. It's all about what I already do, and now I can go out there and share that with people. There's just congruency with it. The reason why I like to build networks is because it's a disguise for self-development. I love to get people digging with their shovels inside of themselves and find out who they are and what can happen with that. So we'll be here, answer some questions, but we've had really great opportunity to complement that with what we've been doing in chiropractic, and it's just really a wonderful thing. So River, thank you for giving me the time to be able to share this. But we'll be around, but this is just, hey, listen, if you want a side hustle, if you want to make another thing that's going to help us complement what we already do with the innate healing potential, this has fit wonderfully in my life, and I'm out there changing people's lives with that also on what I do. So anyways, appreciate you guys. Really, seriously, build this. This gives purpose for this guy. He wakes up. There's a reason why he's done what he's done. He's been blessed to have a purpose, and that purpose has never, ever varied from what he does. So thank you for what you do, River.
There is a sheet that if anybody's interested in getting information further, that they can sign up, that you can, Dr. Palmer or Dan will contact you, but you can talk with them here. And just as a sidelight on this, because he made mention networking, are you all familiar with the Lupo field? When Dr. Lupo went to school, he was driving a Cadillac at the time because he got himself, while he was in school, into a network. And so he was making very big money as a student. Once he got down here and he got into a network program, and he lived a very, very prosperous life. That same energy that he used to build the networking, he used to build a practice. And that same energy, this makes Dr. Lupo the highest chiropractic donor to Life University. It all became possible because of taking an energy and developing himself to become part of what's out there, all the fruit that's out there to be picked. Also, while you're here, Dr. Nico Staples, he's 100% chiropractic. And if you might want to talk to him, if you want to find out more what's involved with franchise, 100% chiropractic, it's all there, okay? So anyways, we'll call it evening. Let's socialize. Pizzas are probably here.
They are here.
And they're not cold because Larry's keeping them warm. he has the hair dryer. He has a hair dryer on him. Well, he rakes the coals at our firewalk, so that they're probably being raked right now. Anyways, thank you all for coming. Make sure the next one will be in January, next Spizz night. Make sure you come. Bring somebody with you. Somewhere along the line you feel, well, I've already been to one before. We need each other. We need each other. That's the whole idea. We need each other. You know, and as we go through life, excuse me? When we get finished, yeah. So the 3 magic words in life is, I need help. I need help. So when you stand up, fold the chairs and put them along the wall. And that'll help us. And if you want to know more about Interwinners, make sure you sign the note. Talk to Jenna. Want to make some money while you're in school? Talk to Dr. Dan, Dr. Palmer. And if you want a full stomach, fill up.